Today on The Explainer, we are opening up one of history's most fascinating cold cases. We're dusting off the files on the legendary Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
So let's just get right into it, because this isn't some dusty old story. No, this is a genuine mystery. It's like a crime scene that's completely vanished, where our only witnesses are 2,000 years old, and all the clues, well, they point in a direction you would never expect.
Every good investigation has to start at the beginning, right? So let's open the case file and look at the story that everybody thinks they know, the legend that has captivated people for centuries. The tale itself is pretty romantic. The story goes that around 600 BC, the great King Nebuchadnezzar II built this absolute masterpiece of a garden for his wife, Queen Amytis. See, she came from a land of green mountains, and she was terribly homesick living on the flat, sun-baked plains of Babylon.
So what did this place even look like? To figure that out, we have to turn to our only witnesses, a handful of Greek and Roman historians. Now, they lived centuries later, but they wrote about the gardens in just breathtaking detail.
Okay, first things first, let's clear something up. They didn't literally hang from ropes or anything like that. The name is actually a bit of a mix-up from the Greek word kremastos, which really just means overhanging. So picture a massive terrace structure, like a giant's balcony garden.
And to put that into perspective for you, we're talking about something like an 8-story building made of trees, flowers, and waterfalls, in the middle of a desert. This wasn't just a garden, it was an artificial mountain, an absolute skyscraper of botany.
And this is where the engineering gets absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, think about it. You can't just pile tons and tons of wet soil on top of a building. The whole thing would just collapse. So they supposedly developed this brilliant layering system. Baked brick and tough asphalt for the main structure, then reeds and sticky bitumen for drainage, and finally, a layer of lead, which was super rare and expensive, to act as a waterproof seal. Genius.
But the real million-dollar question is, how did they keep it all alive? The answer was a non-stop mechanical water lifting machine. Just picture it. A continuous chain of buckets, or maybe a massive bronze screw, turning day and night, powered by people, lifting water from the Euphrates River all the way to the top. From there, gravity did the rest. It was a hydro-engineering marvel, totally revolutionary for its time.
So, the stories are incredible. The engineering sounds amazing, right? But this is the exact moment our investigation slams into a brick wall. Because when archaeologists actually went looking for physical evidence in Babylon, the trail went stone cold.
And here's the part that's just so baffling. The silence from the Babylonians themselves. Nebuchadnezzar was a guy who loved to brag. We have records of his military wins, the temples he built, the city walls, but this garden, his supposed greatest masterpiece, not a single mention, nothing.
And trust me, it's not because people haven't looked. For decades, archaeologists have been digging. They found palaces, huge city walls, the famous Ishtar Gate, but a garden? Not one single foundation. Not a scrap of lead. Nothing that could be definitively tied to this legendary wonder. So, is that it? Case closed? Myth busted? Well, not so fast. Because this is the point where our cold case takes a wild, unexpected turn. What if, for 2,000 years, everyone has been looking for the right wonder, but in the completely wrong city? And this brings us to a really compelling new theory from Oxford scholar Stephanie Dalley. She suggests we've been investigating the wrong guy all along. Our new prime suspect? The Assyrian king, Sennacherib. And his garden wasn't in Babylon, it was in Nineveh.
All right, it's detective time. Let's put on our hats and compare the evidence. We're going to open a case file for Babylon and put it right up against the evidence from Nineveh.
And wow, just look at this. The difference is like night and day. For Babylon, we have, well, nothing. Silence. But for Nineveh, we have King Sennacherib's own words, boasting about his garden and calling it a wonder for all peoples. He describes his water screws. Archaeologists have actually found the 50-mile aqueduct system he built. And get this, there are even carvings on his palace walls that show a terraced garden. The evidence is all there. So how on earth did history get this so mixed up? Well, it might just be a classic case of stories getting twisted over time. Think about it. Sennacherib, the king who built the real garden, also happened to be the one who conquered and destroyed Babylon. Much later, Nebuchadnezzar rebuilds Babylon into the most glorious city in the world. It's pretty easy to see how the story of a magnificent garden got attached to the more famous king and his more famous city. So where does all of this leave our investigation?
Well, even with all this incredibly compelling evidence for Nineveh, the official case of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon remains open.
We're basically left with three possibilities. 1. It was all just a beautiful story, a myth that never actually existed. 2. It really was in Babylon, but was so completely destroyed that not a single brick is left. Or 3. It was a massive, epic case of mistaken identity that's lasted for millennia. So, what's the final verdict? An incredible feat of ancient engineering that was simply placed in the wrong city? Or maybe the world's most beautiful lie? The truth is, the final answer remains lost to time, and that very uncertainty is what makes the Hanging Gardens not just a wonder of the ancient world, but one of its most enduring and fascinating mysteries.